Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today we have a wonderful guest. This is Marc Katz. He is a dating coach for the smart and successful women out there that I have listening. And I'm going to ask him a lot of questions that I just make up in my head right now that represent what women talk to me about their dating trials and tribulations. So, Evan, just tell everybody a little bit about you and thank you so much for being here.
My name's Marc Katz. I'm the first dating coach. Now there's billions of people who do what I do, but in 2003, when I started doing this, I was the only one. And over 22 years, I've evolved my practice to meet the needs of women. And I realized at a certain point that the people who were struggling the most in love were women who were college educated, six-figure earners, have everything except for love, and don't know what is within their power to help themselves find it. And so I sort of filled a gap in the marketplace, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to impact a lot of lives over the past couple decades.
Yeah, I mean, you have a podcast, right? Also.
Yeah, I mean, at one point in time, I had the world's biggest dating blog. We had about 35 million unique people come to my blog
Wow.
when blogging was a thing. And then
Yes.
everything moved to social media and podcasting. I started the Love You podcast in 2017. We've had 3 million downloads on that.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been around for a really long time. I'm not a psychologist, so I have great respect for people who've put in the time to do that kind of work. I'm a big fan of yours from Substack, and I was just really excited to be here today and exchange some ideas.
Awesome, awesome. So the number one thing that, because I have female clients, I have male clients, I have couples clients, and the number one kind of group that I work with that's single are divorced women, right? Because I don't work with as many women in their 20s, anymore or anything like that. I work with a lot of women that are successful, they are smart, they're parents,
Mhm.
Dr. Psych Mom. So most people follow me are parents, and they are divorced, and they usually were in relationships with guys that they feel did not meet their emotional needs.
Right.
And I'm sure this is a lot of your clientele.
Yeah, there's a tremendous overlap. There's not one word of yours that wouldn't apply to my clients as well.
So obviously, they want to fix that. They don't want to get into another situation where they are trying to get blood from a stone and get their needs met from somebody who's more avoidant. And so I guess you're trying to help women get into relationships with people who are more emotionally reciprocal and a more mutual loving relationship, correct?
Yeah, I'm thinking a thought that I haven't articulated before, so it's not going to come out smoothly. When people are single, their idea is, where do I find him? I mean, that's usually the question. Where do I find him? Like he's a truffle in the forest. Like, how do is it do I go take up golf? Which dating site should I be on? It's like it's a search for an individual.
Yes.
I think that's the wrong approach, even though that's a piece of it. The biggest thing that people need to learn, right, is to stop putting up with bullshit from the wrong people. And if you, my central metaphor, are the CEO of your love life, and men are interns applying for a job with you, and the intern's resume looks really good and he interviews very well, but he only shows up at work once every 2 weeks, you fire him, and there's always another one. So we
Yeah.
hold this one job open for an indefinite amount of time until the right candidate comes along. Most
Hmm.
women spend their time spinning their wheels because they're lonely. They need attraction, affection. So the first cute guy who comes along when they're single, that becomes their boyfriend. And now we're off to the races 1 year, 5 years, 10 years later. And if we make better decisions in the first month of dating, we could save years of heartbreak. It's having the courage to say no to men who are incapable of being that man.
100%. I think that that's right. I mean, when you're young, you also think that if you find the quote right man, then you're not going to need any skills and you're not going to need to work on yourself. And it's just going to like magically go off into the sunset. And that is, couldn't be further from the truth. And I think by divorce, people kind of know that already. So, like, I assume you're also working with these women on how to have better skills at relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I'm different than a therapist, right? A therapist is generally an hourly thing, and it's a long process. I work with clients for like a finite amount of time. I have a 6 month program called Love You, and month one is confidence, then meeting men, dating, understanding men, relationships, and commitment. So we walk people chronologically through the skill set
Mm,
that they need to have to not only choose wisely, but then become the partner that's going to be able to maintain a long-term relationship. But I think 80% of it is making a good choice, and then 20% of it is how you show up in the relationship. But people
yeah.
do the reverse. I'm going to spend 80% of the time working on myself. And then one day they wake up and they still haven't gone on a date in 4 years because I've been myself. So I really believe
Yeah.
that if you choose wisely, right, you don't have to change your personality, but you have to change your broken man picker to be able to find love. And most men are not capable of it. And we need to validate that experience. I hate to toss my gender under the bus, but what if I said 90% of men, for all their virtues, are not capable of being great long-term partners for you? So
Yeah.
now you don't have to feel so guilty that 90% of men that you meet online aren't up to your standards, right? You're an Ivy League school, you're allowed to reject people, right? As long as you're open theoretically to 10%, we're in business. If you say literally 0.1% of men are attractive to me, well, we've got a different set of problems.
Right, right. How often then do women work with you? You have a high success rate, right? From the things that all these testimonials that you have. So have you've had like weddings that happen after
Oh,
women
yeah,
have worked with you?
it's hard to quantify. It's probably like being a therapist, right? What is your success rate? Well, what percentage of people go from depressed to slightly less depressed over? So the thing that I could usually guarantee when people work with me for 6 months, I'm not going to hand you a husband on a platter. What you are going to do is learn to understand yourself, understand men, understand dating and relationship dynamics,
Yeah.
be more confident, self-aware, resilient, all the things, the skill set of life. And so once we go back to what you said, dating and relationships as a skill, it's fascinating. We think this is one thing we should all know how to do. We know we have to take piano lessons or go to law school. Why do we think that this should come naturally? Well, because it always does. Millions of people have married and procreated, but most of them haven't done it well. Most of them haven't been happy. So I
Yeah.
think just understanding that if you treat this as seriously because it is important as other aspects of your life, there's a great return on that investment instead of just bouncing around, hoping to find the right person that you're attracted to, sleep with them and keep your fingers crossed, which is most people's dating strategy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, on top of that, I think a lot of people hesitate to say what they're, the bad parts that they're bringing to the table. It's a lot easier to blame every failed relationship on the ex and the ex and the ex. And then all, after a while, what's the common denominator? People get uncomfortable.
Right. And that's part of why I've made a living at why I really respond to your work. You are a neutral third party. As much as you want to validate the people who are listening to you, you have to say, hey, you're the common denominator in every choice, even if it's just being attracted to and choosing narcissists.
Yeah.
At some point, the narcissist can't narcissist on you if you dump him. It's
Yeah.
only if you stay with him. Right. So
Right.
giving women the power to say no, to fire people when they feel anxious consistently within a relationship. Right? Anxious attachment style is in the zeitgeist, and people have a kind of a misunderstanding about what that is. And so you have to be able to tell them, yes, his behavior is that of an avoidant, which is making you anxious, versus no, this is your childhood anxiety, and you need way too much reassurance, right? That a normal guy won't be able to give it to you. So you need to learn to calm your nerves. Just being able to help people calibrate, is it them, is it me, is a really useful
Yes.
skill.
Yeah, and I think that that is super hard for people to say because, again, and I'm sure you see this a lot, people's friends and family, they don't want to make conflict, so they'll just keep validating the person. And that's where somebody like me or you comes in to call them out and say, well, how could you constantly be, the not the problem in every situation?
Yeah, and I think the thing I've learned very slowly over 20 some odd years is the language with which to do this, right? I don't traffic in tough love. I don't call people out. If anything,
That's me.
right? No, I'm saying, but like that was me when I was a blogger and I was just writing, hot takes before there was a
Forever.
Substack. I would do a lot of that. They would come off as more controversial. I think once you lead with the call out, people tune you out and they get upset with you and they dismiss what you have to say. So the hard part is you got to take the long route there, validate their claims and their feelings, build trust, and then when you build trust, you could lead them to the, hey, some of this is on you. Maybe he is an asshole, but 25% of it is you choosing him, doubling down on him,
Right. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How you fight with him, where you get in your own way and create some of that chaos, right? Because you grew up around chaos and that's normal to you. So I think that there's a non-psychologist way to get into these issues
Sure.
because people just get defensive and shut down when
Yeah.
you point the finger at them. So
Yeah, yeah.
making people feel that you're hearing them has been the hardest part of my job because the easy route, the very masculine, I'm going to fix it route is just to go out and tell the truth.
Yeah. So how did you decide to do this?
I'm not sure my origin story matters much, but I came to LA when I was 24 to be a screenwriter. Um,
Cool.
Someone was writing for Friends in 1994. I figured, why not me? So I moved out to LA and I got an agent and a manager, and I did all the rounds in Hollywood and studio meetings and network meetings and freelance gigs and awards and Project Greenlight with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And I did literally all the things you could do except make money. Then I turned 30 and I was like, oh man, I am really screwed. I put all of my eggs into this one basket. All my friends have professional jobs in big cities, and I am a penniless screenwriter. So I got a job answering phones at JDate when I
I used to do the blog for JD a long time. I used to answer questions on the blog. So you've met Patty Stanger. That was one of your things.
I created the thing that you wrote for.
Really? The
I
website JMag?
I created that.
Wow, that's so funny.
I was the editor in chief of JMag and the advice columnist when it started.
That's
Uh,
so funny.
and Shade 8 just we it was like the relationship that had all the reasons to work, but it never worked. They hired me and fired me like four times. I was like, hey, that's where I got the idea. I was answering phones in customer service while I was putting myself through film school. I was like, why don't you call me like the date doctor and charge like $50? And they're like, shut up, answer the phone. So I kind of hung out a shingle, wrote a book about online dating in 2003 called I Can't Believe I'm Buying This Book. Built a website called East Cyrano, writing people's dating profiles, and that had
I
never
saw,
happened before.
I saw that
So
years ago.
it became a news story. So suddenly I'm on CNN and USA Today, and I was just the penniless screenwriter who had an idea. And
Oh,
online dating was going mainstream for the first time. So unlike my Hollywood career where I struggled and struggled, I kind of caught a wave, became the online dating guy before that was a thing, and built a name for myself again before there were dating coaches, influencers, podcasts. So yeah, my original part of my career, I was just online dating profiles and advice. But then you'd write someone a profile and they'd say, "Oh my God, I'm getting all this attention. What do I do now?" I'd say, "Well, you flirt." "I don't know how to flirt."
yeah.
"Okay, well, let's log into Match.com." So I made up this job, right, based on my natural personality. I wasn't good at anything. I don't even have a resume, right? So I was good at writing and I was good at flirting. So I had very little to offer to the world. And so I combined my various loves into this made up job called dating coach and refined it over time to the point where Didn't have an
Now you have a
expertise. Yeah,
niche.
I didn't have an expertise, but I stepped into an expertise through
Yeah.
the act of doing it.
It's a cool story.
I don't know. It's all my biggest fear was having a real job, and so I just wanted to be myself for a living. And if I could make teenage boys laugh in Hollywood, that was one plan. This is the best plan B, and it turns out it was better than plan A. Once I gave up my dream, and this is a dating coaching principle. I had to give up my dream of being Judd Apatow to achieve a better dream because I found this thing I was successful at where I could
Yeah.
be myself, I could write, I could be creative, but it wasn't a Hollywood job. And I got to fulfill everything I've ever wanted. Married 17 years, two teenage kids, like genuinely happy helping other people for a living. So when we think of that in dating terms, the dream everybody has, they hold on to it so tightly, right? You probably know someone who's a 47-year-old single, never married woman who wants to have her own biological children and she won't let go, right? That's
Yeah.
hard to say, but she needs to give up that dream to achieve a different dream. And once you let go of that, trying to date 40-year-old men who want to date 34-year-old women, now you could find a 52-year-old divorcee who's got two kids between the ages of 10 and 12 and be part of a family and have something larger, maybe even adopt, who knows. But once you let go of this very narrow, defined version of your fantasy, you can actually get on with the business of being happy. And too many people cling to these very specific dreams of what he looks like, and they don't let
Yeah.
go of it, even when the picture shifts. So a big part of coaching, and I would imagine therapy, is helping people let go of those limiting beliefs of what happiness and love looks like.
For sure. I mean, that's definitely right as part of dating, or even once you're married, obviously, people say the ideal spouse is this and this and this, and then your spouse isn't just going to be like that, you know? So you're going to have to accept things that you didn't think that you would accept and then have a happy marriage in exchange for it.
I believe you compromise your way into happiness, you settle your way into misery. And people have a really hard time telling the difference between compromising and settling because they've settled before. So then it's which traits are you going to compromise on? And that is the thing that people tend to do wrong more than anything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially like more honestly, people who tend to be more shallow. Like the person has to look a certain way. You know, and I see this
Yeah, and
with men
that's a
and
piece of
women.
it, but I agree.
A
And you
certain resume, a certain school, a certain like,
right.
you know, they have to look not just, you know, their looks, but like for example, I talk to women that say, but he has to have like he has to make more than me. Like, of course, he has to make more than me. And I'm like, but like why? Why does he have to make more than you?
No,
Like you make what you have.
it's a really juicy conversation. I've been having it for many years, getting people around these blocks that we put in our own way to some degree. So I distinguish between what people find attractive, which is valid, and what's ultimately important in terms of creating a marriage that lasts for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
And so a master's degree might be attractive because you have it in common with him, but a degree is not going to keep you warm at night. A master's degree is not going to drive you to chemo in 30 years.
Yeah.
So when we distinguish between
Yeah.
attractive, or that laundry list that every person has, and important, what is important? Character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment. And if you talk to any divorced couple and ask them where did their relationship go wrong, the answers will fall somewhere in character, kindness, consistency, communication, and commitment. It will never be, I divorced him because I really wanted him to be 5'11" and he was only 5'8". Right? The reason I left him was because he was 10 pounds overweight. Never, 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 never.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Although it is interesting because some people never found the partner attractive at all.
well, then
And
they,
that, then you would have told them to get rid of that to begin
so
with.
you made my point. They settled their way into a
To
relationship
misery,
and are
yeah.
so determined not to settle that they then overcorrect. The
Yeah.
person who dated a guy with no attraction now looks for attraction. Now
Yeah.
they're with a guy who's really attractive, but he won't commit. right? And he's having affairs on the side, but at least he's attractive. The woman who was with the guy with no money, now she looks for money. Now the guy with money is really great, but he's not always emotionally communicative. He's not always available to spend his quality time with you because he's a workaholic. So we tend to overcorrect from our
Yeah.
mistakes. I notice a lot. And the
Yeah.
answer is almost always in the
In the
middle.
middle. Yeah.
And that's hard for people to arrive that there even is a middle. It's either toxic male narcissist workaholic pigs or loser guys who need a mommy. And
Right.
there is a lane of actual men who are emotionally available, who could handle your intelligence. And
Yeah.
because there's so many people on the other sides of it, we forget that this lane actually exists.
And it's a lot of guys. That's not like a minority. That's like the average man who grew up in a happy home is like that.
Right. But I want to, yes, and I want to validate the idea that you, as a woman, might perceive it to be a minority. If you need to be attracted to a guy at a certain level, if you need him
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make
yeah.
a
If
basic
with all
level of
these other
income,
things.
I'm okay saying, even if it's only 10% of men that qualify,
There's still a lot of men.
right, we're talking about millions of men. And how many do you
Millions
need
of
to be
men.
happy? One.
One, yeah.
So that's why it's a really achievable goal. People think it's a game of like musical chairs. Oh my God, another one's off the market. There's going to be nobody left for me in Los Angeles. Certain narcissism. I had that thought when I was
Yes.
single, dating like crazy in LA. I went out with 300 people. That's what gave me the authority to call myself a dating coach. Right? Maybe I should go to
Right.
New York. Maybe all the smart ones are in
I
New York.
remember people saying that.
Oh God, how
People don't say that to me anymore because they're all divorced. They got to stay where their kids are, where their co-parent is. But I remember people saying that. Maybe I got to leave my city.
I've just used up everyone in my whole city. I'm the only good one here. And so I think that's sometimes how it feels.
Yes.
But I ended up marrying a woman from San Diego who moved with her husband to Los Angeles, got divorced, stayed in LA, and I did not have to go on a wife hunt in a different city.
Right.
And I think there's a million versions of it. I love telling the story of my wife and I because we never would have met online. Even though we were on the same site at the same time, we wouldn't have chosen each other.
Why? What were your filters that were different?
She's Catholic, I'm Jewish. She wasn't looking for a Jewish guy.
Oh,
And I was 34, she was 37 when we met. And
so
I
you were
wanted to
looking
have,
for under
of course,
34.
I wanted to have two kids.
Right, right.
We got in under the wire, but it was, but the point was we both made a pretty sizable compromise
Right.
to be able to forge this relationship. I had to take the risk of dating someone who was older than I am when I wanted kids. She had to open up to the possibility that having Jewish children wasn't the worst thing in the world. But 16 years of Catholic school, that's a sizable compromise. We're both really happy with the compromises we made.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you decide to work with women primarily?
Women chose me, right? So I hung out a shingle as a dating coach, right? I had
And
this
women were more
Yeah, I had this
drawn to.
book, I had this profile writing business, I had this blog,
Mm.
2000, 6, 7, 8. And at a certain point, I realized 80% of the people on my mailing list were women. Men need help. They rarely ask for it. So I catered my business to the people who
Yeah.
were asking for help. The men who were turning to me were generally nice guys who didn't have any confidence with women. So I get really nice guys, the guys who sometimes find themselves in the manosphere, learning the pickup artist
Oh,
ways,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I would get the really nice guys who just didn't have any game, right?
Right.
But the majority of my clients were the kind of people we're talking about. These really extraordinary women who are like, where are all the guys?
That's
And
funny because the majority now who listens to my podcast are men. So I
that's
think that, yeah, and it used to be when I was just starting out, it was, it was more about like parenting and things like that. I had very little kids, 10 years ago. And then I always did some relationship stuff, but as I started to talk more about sexual intimacy,
yeah, you
then
do a
more
great job
men.
with that, by the way.
Thank you. But more men came in and men, it's so funny as you were talking about the validation, a lot of the men that come in to see me are the ones that say they don't want to be validated. They want the straight talk. So it's so funny because
Yes.
women, you got to slow roll it a little bit. And I even say this to people. I say in couples therapy, you are gonna have to change. You're gonna have to get at least one change under your belt, and then she'll change. She may even change more than you do, but it's like you gotta do it first,
I
in a
think
lot of
that's
couples.
a great observation. Yeah, and again, I'm glad you're saying saying those things out loud. Just understanding that there are for better or worse some
Differences.
basic differences, both biological and sociological. So it doesn't matter why it is the way it is, but men are just more direct, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't need foreplay. Let me put it in. Like let's just get to the point. Get to the point of the story. How do I fix this? Right.
Yeah.
Where women, it's a more circuitous, slower route. So guys are sometimes easier to help. Doc, just tell me what to do. Right.
Yeah.
And she needs to be more validated and understood.
Yeah, it's almost like with guys, some of the guys I work with a lot of like super successful guys, like the CEO type. There's a lot of narcissistic traits, and they admit that there are, but they want somebody who could call them out. Whereas then what's so interesting is I hire a lot of people like me. So at my practice, I have more people who are like direct. And then sometimes if I put one of those men and their wife into couples therapy
Ah,
with somebody who's too direct, well, he likes it and she doesn't like it
yeah.
because she wants more of the slow roll, gentle approach. So those it's probably the same. Like you work with these smart, successful women, like there can't be two alphas.
Well, I mean, in my practice, I mean, it's not even about being alpha. It's not like I'm the guy. I'm the representative of theoretically the
The
guy
gender.
you want to marry, the
Yeah.
smart, strong, successful, sensitive guy. If we have conflict, I'm going to do everything in my power to manage that conflict, right? Because you're my paid client. I'm going to listen to you, validate you, take care of you, give you
Yeah.
space to be yourself. If you can't get along with me when I'm bending over backwards to make you happy, you're going to struggle with real life guys because
No,
it's
that's
my
true.
job to really make you happy and show up
That's
almost like a
true.
boyfriend would. So it's not a matter of like power
That's
or being
very
alpha, but
true.
you're coming to me for help. I will do everything in my power to help you. I provide a more concierge service. It's not like an hourly thing. It's a
Right.
group coaching, private coaching, online course, Facebook group, right? Email me in the middle of the night,
Right.
right? It's really holding someone's hand through the dating and relationship process. And so the not so secret secret of my business is I'm going to treat you the way your boyfriend should treat you, the way your husband should treat you, right?
Yeah.
You've never been treated this way before. So
So
we're going
then
to
they see
raise
it's
yeah,
possible.
I'm going to
The
raise the bar for what you come to
Mhm.
expect from men. And I'm never going to judge you and I'm never going to abandon you, right? Like I'm going to be the best possible guy I could be, but I'm
In our
not a,
field, that's called transference. When
I,
they
that would imply that they're falling in love with me. But I think part of my brand is that I'm a really happily married guy. And
Well,
so,
yeah, sure, but it doesn't just have to be in love. It's like this relationship. The whole thing is they start to act with you like they do in their life. So if they are batshit crazy, no offense to anybody with you, they're going to be real
but
difficult in a relationship. And it's the
what,
same exact thing in therapy.
right,
I,
right. But in the defense of this methodology, because it's not therapy, right?
right,
Again,
right, sure.
it's a different lane. I think you're generally dealing with people who, through no fault of their own, were brought up in a family with a distant mother, abusive father, a lot of conflict.
Attachment
One person
issues.
leaves. That sets a template for how they choose all relationships in the
Yeah,
future. So my job is really just to give them a
correct.
yeah, abundance of kindness and patience and
You know
attention.
what the therapy term is for you? It's called a corrective emotional experience. That's what you're providing, a corrective emotional experience.
Thank you for giving words to that because that's really what it is. And my
Yeah.
point is, hey, I'm not a unicorn. I'm just like a regular guy, as you pointed out. I'm just a regular guy. But if you're dating another guy who's not as nice to you as your dating coach, just get rid of the other guy. Don't hold on to him. Don't try to make it work. Like,
Yeah.
I really appreciate couples counselors, especially for people in long-term marriages who are trying to salvage it. But I have a very different take on relationships and informed by my own experience. Good relationships are fundamentally easy.
I just
Everybody,
had a podcast on that. Marriage isn't supposed to be that hard.
No, it takes effort, but not work. It's never been
It
work.
should not feel like yoked to a burden. And the people that think it is always grew up in houses where a parent was acting like what I call a professional victim, and that they were yoked to the burden of either their marriage, the world, money, addiction, depression.
Right.
And so then the child that's then an adult learns everything is hard. I'm always going to suffer this whole martyred experience.
Correct. And so we model, here's what a good relationship feels like. It's easy. Hey, when you get on the phone with me, do we fight? Do I judge you? Are you worried that I'm going to say something or I'm going to use your words against you? No, it's a nice, easy conversation. That's the baseline affect of a healthy relationship. You have it with your best girlfriend from college. You need to
Yeah.
have a similar relationship with a man. Anything less, you're going to suffer. So keep saying no until it's easy and the anxiety goes away. And they're used to the anxiety being love. That's the anxious attachment style. Love feels like a roller coaster. No, healthy love is a nice, smooth ride.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think that it's nice that, part of the job for you is giving this corrective emotional experience. And I think that that's what it is. See, you're going to write it down. You're going to say it to people. It's good,
I'm gonna
right?
quote you. I never take credit for ideas that aren't my own because I've
Well,
created
I
some.
mean, I didn't make that up, but it's kind of known and it's interesting. We do it in it obviously I talk about a lot of sexual issues with couples, and the first time a lot of people that struggle with sex, I'm just saying this because it's analogous. A lot of people who struggle with sex don't ever talk about sex. They like it's just something you can never ever say words to. You don't talk about it. It's like an elephant in the room. And then when
Yeah,
we get into session, I'm like, oh, how often do you do it? And how are you doing it? In what position? Oh, you like it. So that's kind of also like modeling, like, oh, how would you talk in your relationship one day about sex?
you're
We would
norm
just talk about it.
you're normalizing something
Yeah.
that has been taboo or put aside. And
Yeah.
again, I think I want to compliment you again on your own podcast. It's something you do really, really well. I
Thank you.
loved both of the series of what women think men think about sex and what men,
Yeah.
right? Because very often they're kind of just talking past each other. And you don't have to be a coach or a psychologist. If you just listen to people, these things will come to the surface. You come up with all this stuff, not through reading a book, from just listening to your patients.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because the people that struggle with dating also do have issues with intimacy, right? I mean, so I'm
Of
sure you see that a lot.
course, and I'm dealing with them at a different phase than you're dealing with them, right?
So
I
what
don't,
is your advice then? Like if they ask for advice, if they say, well, like, so I am dating this guy and how fast should I have sex with him?
oh, that's a different question. So I mean, I want to address your question, but I want to make a distinction between your patients and my patients who might be demographically similar, right? I get them when they are at a low, when
Uh-huh.
they just got out of a 12-year marriage, when they haven't dated in 20 years, when they just went on 3 online dates that went horribly in a row. I'm dealing largely with single people. People who are in happy relationships don't call dating coaches.
Well, they don't call me either, but I do deal with people who are
Right.
mostly married,
So
although
I
some single.
so I really don't do couples counseling. My
Right,
job
right,
is to
right.
get you into a healthy relationship that you generally don't need counseling for. If you choose well, it should be a relatively smooth ride. So it's not to say it's impossible. I'm not negating the value of it, but I deal with people in the dating phase of things, not so
Right.
much in the relationship phase of things. So I don't really do sex counseling, but I do have advice for sex and dating.
Yes, tell me
So
that.
yeah, I think it's really simple. It's an idea that I call sex exclusivity. Don't have sex with anybody who's not your boyfriend, right? But just because you want to have sex with him and he wants to have sex with you doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you want him to be your boyfriend and he wants to be your boyfriend doesn't mean you should do it. You make the choice at the same time after he's been auditioning for the job for 4 to 6 weeks. So it, because at the beginning of the relationship, you can't tell if a guy is looking to get laid or if he
Yeah.
wants the relationship. The behavior looks the same. He's charming you. So since you can't tell the difference, if you don't like the feeling of sleeping with a guy and then seeing him on Bumble the next day and staring at your phone, don't give
Yeah.
yourself that feeling. It's easy to say, "Oh, we're sexually liberated," and you're allowed to. But if you hate the feeling
If you
of
hate the
sleeping
feeling, you
with
can't
someone
do
and
it.
not
Yeah.
knowing where you stand, Well, then stop sleeping with men who are not your boyfriend. And the right guy is going to ask for the job sometime in the first month. They always do.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's true. And you're dealing with a lot of women with anxious attachment, and they really do spiral out when they sleep with somebody and he doesn't want to be committed.
Right. So so when people hear this and they push back against it, it's like if you, as an individual woman, could separate sex and emotion, and you could just enjoy the thrill of it, you're allowed to do it. It still might have suboptimal results, right? Sleeping with a guy on a second date, it still might have suboptimal results. You're going to have more people who don't pan out than people who do. If you're okay with it, I dated that way for a long time as a man. So
I dated that way as a woman.
right. So there's no value judgment, man versus woman. It's if you like the result, and this is anything. I don't know how you
Yeah,
work
of
as a
course. If
therapist.
you like the
If what
result,
you're
then
doing
do
is
it.
working for you,
They're
then keep
coming to
doing it.
you, and they're coming to you when they're not liking what they're doing.
Yeah. So I think that's the hard part is but I want to sleep with him. I know. But when you sleep with him, how many times have you discovered he doesn't call you the next day?
Yeah.
Or now you're sleeping with him for 3 months and he's still not your boyfriend and it's not escalating and you're now on the hook. Wait, now you've got sunk cost. You're doubling down on something.
Right.
So I don't judge you for sleeping with a stranger. You're a 55-year-old
Right.
woman. I think you just don't like where this is going. So old school, right? Like make the guy work for it. And if he wants the job, he's going to stick around to demonstrate to you that he's boyfriend worthy and he will respect the fact that you have boundaries. It's not all or nothing. You're still engaging in foreplay, right? You're going around the bases. I think this is really, really practical, sane advice. And I think of everything as a Venn diagram. What do women want? What do men want? What's the
Yeah.
overlap between the two things? And if you could set your boundaries and he's bought into it, now you could have a happy relationship. It's when a woman sets boundaries that are completely tone deaf to men, that's when it falls apart.
Well, that's within a relationship when you say you won't have
It's also
sex.
outside, expecting a stranger on the internet to text you every day when he hasn't even met you, right? Like
Oh, yes, of
expecting
course.
boyfriend behavior from strangers is one of those things, right?
Sure.
Expecting because he slept with me, he should be my boyfriend. You made that association in your head. He didn't make that association.
100%.
So I think we really want to pay attention to behavior and follow through. It's not what happens on the date, it's what happens in between the dates. How much is he demonstrating to you that he wants the job of boyfriend? And how much is he talking about building a future with someone? Because there's lots of good guys who could be Mr. Right Now. And if unless you're looking for Mr. Right Now, it's very easy to see someone who's just happy to have a girlfriend. And a year and a half from now, when you're like, where is this going? He's going to say, nowhere. I told you I wasn't looking for anything serious. Then why were you such a good boyfriend? Because I like having a girlfriend. I just don't ever want anything serious. This is what I want. So all
Yeah.
the decisions, as I said at the top of the call, are made in the first 5 to 6 weeks. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're on a train headed in the wrong direction. And so many women get on that train and wonder, how the hell did I end up in Alaska? It's you didn't pay attention from the first day. He's never mentioned commitment. He's never mentioned marriage.
It's true. People make up what they want, and men do this too. Men say, because I work with a lot of guys with anxious attachment too, and they're the ones that once they have sex, they think that she's their girlfriend. And she
Right.
doesn't. She never said that. She never said anything like that, you
Yes.
know? I think for people with anxious attachment and especially fearful avoidant attachment, which I'm sure is a large segment, that's when your childhood was abusive, traumatic, and you have real attachment issues, then it is really hard to be very close and then not make up a story that ends in a fairy tale, you know? So you have sex, and then the man, too, that's anxiously attached is planning the wedding after that. Really? I mean, I
Yeah.
see.
I mean, I don't mean to make it a one-sided gender discussion. The only reason I go there is all
Oh, it's because it's your expertise. I know. I'm just
my
saying.
clients are women, but all of
Yeah.
this could obviously overlay onto men as well.
Yeah. The anxiously attached person, they find it so hard to just have a, like, to distinguish between sex, between a date, between a relationship, between intimacy, between am I Are we friends? That's what I always say. Like, you got to be friends. Would you even be friends with this person you're dating? Like, you're so into them. If you were not physically attracted to them, would you be a friend to this person? A
That's
lot
a
of people
great,
be like, I really can't picture that. I'm like, then how could you be in a relationship that's successful?
that's fascinating to me. I love that. Um, I remember years ago, I had a conversation with friends of mine and ended up doing a podcast about it because, everything's material. Um, and it was like four couples at dinner, and I was the only one who said his wife was his best friend. Right? None of the other guys did. And one of the guys even scoffed at it. No, she's my wife. Or like it was just
Yeah,
not even.
different
He goes, if
bucket.
he's like, if I had one day left on the planet, I'd be golfing with my buddy Matt. And I was like,
Uh,
and I was like, okay. I'm sure that this would be easy for his wife to hear at the dinner table. But
Jeez.
that's their marriage. It's their
Yeah.
arrangement.
And you know what? She'd probably be doing something with her friend too in that marriage. Who
That,
knows? Maybe.
that's marriage for them.
Yep.
But we also know that couples who are best friends are more happily married. It should be no surprise. People who enjoy spending time together are going to be, it's going to be easier for them to make 100 little decisions that couples have to make every day
Yeah.
if they can spend a lot of time together. I've worked from home my entire career. My wife has been a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. We have a lot of togetherness. None of the Esther Perel mating into captivity. There's virtually no daylight between us. And
Yeah.
so I feel like we're on to something. I really,
I do that too. I work from home. My husband works from home, and I like all that time together.
right. And so there is an absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's like, hey, you go on a business trip, you come home, you have sex. But for the most part, the strength of our marriage is our togetherness, not the we lead separate lives. And I think that's one of the things that I'm seeing, and I would love to hear your take on it. Um, the propensity for older people who've been divorced to tell themselves, I don't want to be married. My ideal partner is someone that I go out to dinner with, take vacations with, and then I have my own space. Is that a good model for the future? Because it feels worse to me, but a lot of people are leaning
Well,
in that
you're
direction.
just an emotional person like me. So, like for us, like it's gonna seem weird. There are a lot of people that think that that is normal. As long as there's no children in the house. Children in the house, I think it's nice for them to see everybody spend together time. As people are older, they make their own arrangements, and some people really like like even bi-coastal marriage. I'm like, is that marriage? I would never feel married in that situation.
It's a long distance booty call, is what it is.
That's how I feel. I mean, and I've also done a lot of work on, I see a lot of people after long distance relationships, and it's like a huge crash sometimes, a crash and burn
I I
after.
I, I say no to all of them.
Yeah, I really don't think that a long distance relationship gives you much of a chance to understand what it's going to be like when you move in together at like no chance. But I say there's a lot of different kinds of people in the world, and if something works, if people like a bicoastal marriage, then that's marriage for them. But for the people that you and I probably work with is probably very similar people who want a deep emotional and physical intimacy and to share a life. And in those kind of situations, I feel like, yeah, don't make your life around living and being separate.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting distinction, and it's not a rule, but something that you could imagine. When I work with women, and you probably know the same statistics that I know, men are more likely to want to get remarried. Women are more likely to file for divorce, two-thirds. Men are more
Amen.
likely to want to be remarried.
Yep.
So a lot of women associate marriage with their bad 25-year marriage. So then they say, I'm out on marriage. No, you're
Right.
out on the one guy that you married when you were 27, but
Yeah.
I've given up on marriage. I don't want to get married. And that becomes her speech when she goes
Mantra.
on a
Yeah.
date. I don't want to get married. So
You're going to weed out all the emotionally available men.
thank you. Right. So
100%.
you know who you're catnip for? Guys who also don't
Avoidant.
want a real commitment. So now your dating pool consists of other guys who's like, perfect. she's not going to have particularly high expectations of me.
Yeah, fuck it. That's
Right.
what they think.
Right. It's perfect. You want to attract, you want to have a relationship that doesn't get off the ground. Choose a guy who loves long distance relationships. Out of sight, out of mind. It's
Or
a
even a guy who's okay with you not remarrying. Because if you just say literally, I'm not remarrying, it just sounds like you have a wall up, a guard up. And for many people, that's very convenient.
we're in a time where people are afraid. I'm talking about this recently, afraid to even admit that they want marriage. Younger generations in particular, they're afraid to list marriage or long-term relationships on their app because they're afraid of scaring people off. It's such a commitment phobic,
Yeah,
open
yeah.
poly generation.
Well, because now everybody doesn't need kids and relate and religious attendance is going down. There's like no extended family networks. Barely everybody's in an isolated pod in space, it feels like, and I don't think that is good for people who want more, again, emotionally intimate relationships.
Yeah, and so I think that's part of what we do, I guess, is sort of nudge people back into best practices for building this kind of life. It's okay if you don't want this kind of life. It's fine if you want to be in a polycule, like that's your business. But when you hear the people in the polycule talk about the amount of communication and how hard it is, I'm like,
Yeah.
it feels like there's an easier path than this. Like it feels like there'd be another way to go about a relationship that's tried and true. But um, yeah, I think all the mores of the past are kind of being unwound, and people are trying to find
Yes.
something uh, that I think we've just sort of overcorrected from maybe the oppressive marriages of the past. So
Yeah.
women are like, I don't need a man. That's true, you don't. But if you want one, then what are you going to do about it? Like if you really want a partner in life, and most people who come to, and certainly me,
Us do want a
nobody
partner.
comes to me to say, I just want to get laid on the internet.
Then they just would.
Right? Like, yeah, you would never hire me if you were content with hookup culture. So
Yeah.
it's how do I find the kind of guy who wants this? Well, I can
Yeah.
guarantee, and you can from your own practice, guarantee that there's a bunch of guys who really want to have a successful, loving
100%. a
relationship.
100%. Yeah. This was really nice having you and talking to you. We should do it again. We should have another podcast.
I was so thrilled when you invited me because I enjoy your content so much because it is again, it's all the internet buzzwords, but it's just direct and it's authentic and it's common sense and sometimes a little counterintuitive. And so again, I'm glad to meet someone who's
Oh,
aligned with me.
yeah. It was great to meet you. So everybody, again, so you can follow Evan here, the Love You podcast, and also obviously you provide this concierge dating coaching for women, and I'll have all of your links in this episode description.
I'm gonna give your listeners a gift. May I?
Yes.
Okay, go to evanmarkkatz.com, EVANMARCKATZ.com /Dr. Psych Mom, and I'll give you a special report.
Oh.
And it's a quiz on have you been dating the wrong men? Very specifically, sorry guys, but it's specifically for women. Have you been dating the wrong men? And you could take this 10 question checklist and discover, oh, indeed, I've spent most of my life dating the wrong men. And so I will send you free dating and relationship advice until you drop. So evanmarkatz.com /Dr. Psych Mom.
Oh, that's so
And
cool. Thank you.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's my pleasure.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here. And everybody, I hope you enjoyed this special treat. And Evan, I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Samantha.